Whenever you need perfection, whenever you need outcomes to be exactly the same, then you cannot survive in situations that are not previously determined as perfect. That's what happens to people whenever they isolate. They cannot handle reality right now, so they have to run away. Be flexible. Be like rubber, not like glass. Do not be afraid to fail. Fail with a group of people and encourage yourself to fail. Fail in front of other guys. Don't hide. Be open and honest with yourself and with other people. Stop listening to negative voices on social media. Do not listen to all that negativity. That will bring down your vibration, your energy. It'll make you negative, and you're going to be more likely to just wallow in self-pity whenever you have all that negativity running through your mind. Listen to things that lift you up. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Rising Father podcast. I'm Chris Rodack. I'm talking about isolation today, which is probably one of the biggest killers of men in terms of them moving ahead in their life and actually making a change. Because guys that isolate stay stuck. Guys that isolate do so out of an ego problem. They do so because they're running from pain. They're trying to escape. I'm going to take you through 4 different things. Number 1, why do guys isolate? I'm going to give you some stories from myself and how I overcame it. Number 2, the consequences of isolating. Number 3, what was number 3? Number 3 was why not isolating is better. Okay, so I'm going to try to sell you on not isolating. And the number 4 is how to make a plan. Whenever you isolate, you're running from your problems. You're running from the pain. You're running from people who could help, people who will bring your whatever you're going through to light in front of you, and you're running from dealing with your responsibilities. We all do it, but that's really what it is. There's this term out there in the men's space called, I think it's Sigma male. I didn't even know what this was. I think my son brought it to me. But it's the lone wolf. It's the guy who goes out into the world on his own and, with the spear and all that stuff. That is not something to be admired. The only thing you get out of going alone is limiting your impact on other people, and it takes you a longer time to get to where you want to go. Whenever you isolate, you're not in contact with people who you could help, such as your friends, your family, coworkers, wife, kids. If you're in men's programs and groups and you isolate yourself, you leave all of them behind, you cannot help anyone. It's just you focused on yourself. So it's really selfish in a little bit of ways. Selfish in a lot of ways. Like I said, I have isolated at times. So why do we do it? Because we're in pain. We can't take the pain we're in. We isolate because we want to run from reality. We can't take it, so we want to run into the woods for a month and leave people behind. Okay, we want to escape the consequences of the behavior that we've done. We're afraid to fail. We're afraid to make mistakes. These are all reasons why we isolate. Let me tell you, it is okay. Once again, as usual, a man's ego is the thing that is at fault. A man that isolates is a man that's afraid to not be seen as perfect. He's afraid for people to see who he really is. He's afraid to be seen with mistakes as imperfect. He's afraid for people to see he fails. He's afraid for people to find out the truth about him, so he doesn't let them find out anything about him in his imperfect state. Do not let that be you. You are delaying the amount of time it takes for you to heal and get better. It's the same thing as binge drinking. You do an action that causes shame. The shame causes you to seek comfort with the vice of drinking. The drinking causes you to do things that cause more shame, and then you're in a shame spiral. Isolation does the same thing. You do something that makes you want to escape reality. You then isolate yourself, which causes the consequences of that action to continue to grow. And when you come back and rejoin civilization, those consequences have snowballed into something you can't handle. And it's even worse. So you snowball the effects. That's a consequence. Let's go back to some more whys. Why we like to isolate, why we like to go into the woods. Is that romanticized thing of the guy running into the woods and figuring his life out on his own. Also, we isolate when we cannot look ourselves in the mirror. And let me give you a story of whenever I used to do this. So I was in a business group 5-6 years ago around COVID times. I told this story a few times, to build an ad agency. And I could not handle the success of other people because I was failing and I wasn't good at it at first. I wasn't good at it, so other people were making millions. I wasn't making $3,000 a month. So I got out of the group because when other people had success, it shined that mirror on me, and I was thinking to myself, what am I doing wrong? What is wrong with me that I can't do better? There must be something wrong with myself. And that thought was painful for me. That thought was so painful for me that I had to leave the group. Had I just made a single post one day and said, hey, I'm struggling, I need help, I'm frustrated, I'm not making any progress, someone that very day would have helped me out, and maybe the next 12 months of my life would have been different. Maybe my life would have been different forever. Grateful now that didn't happen because I pivoted and now I'm doing something that really fills me with joy. But I could have fixed my problem right then and there had I dropped the ego, humbled myself, and asked for help instead of isolated myself. So that ego caused me to isolate myself. The inability for me to look myself in the mirror caused me to isolate myself. So I'm telling you what I've learned through my own story. And now that I've worked with many other guys, I'm telling you what I've learned through their stories as well. We isolate when we're afraid other people will see us as we really are, or see this negative version we see of ourselves. We isolate when we don't want people to have a negative opinion of us, when they probably wouldn't, when they probably have compassion, but we think they would. All this stuff is mindset, it's perspective, it's made-up stories we have about the world. And then we just build a cage around ourselves with all of these reasons for why we need to stay stuck. When communicating, sharing, being open and honest and vulnerable and helping and extending your hand to other guys is what you need to do to get out of it. That's why we do so much of that in my group is, what are you going through? Let me help you out with it. Let me share with you my struggles, my success, my failures, and let me help you get out of this pit you're in. Because when you do that, you release that beach ball from yourself and it no longer controls you. Just simply saying what you're going through has immense healing power. So what are the consequences of isolating? We talked about why people isolate. We isolate because we're in pain. We isolate because of our ego. We isolate because we're running from fear. We're trying to escape the consequences. We're too afraid to fail. We're afraid to make mistakes. We don't want other people to see our weakness. Those are reasons why we isolate. Now, what are the consequences? That's step 2 of 4. The consequences of isolating are we leave behind people who need us. When you isolate yourself, you can't help anybody. Do you consider yourself an impactful person, a person of value, somebody other people look to for inspiration and guidance? Well, when you isolate yourself, they get none of that. That could be maybe you're in a men's group and you fail, and that failure of yourself is too much for you to handle, so you isolate yourself. Guess what? No one else can help you. It could be a church. Maybe you said something stupid at a church meeting and you're too embarrassed. Then there's other people who look to you, and now you don't come back. It could be in your family. Sometimes you'll get in a fight with your wife, and instead of dealing with the problem right then, you go to a hotel for a couple of nights, and then your wife doesn't get you. Then your kids don't get you. When you isolate, you leave behind people who really need you right now. And if you are someone of value, if you're someone who can help people, you are depriving them of that. You leave behind your responsibilities. Your responsibilities remain when you isolate. They do not go away. The consequences that you're running from grow. You could have stayed and fixed them right there, and you could have asked for help and fixed those consequences had you not isolated. But because you isolated, those consequences now grow. People do not get you, the best thing. People do not get you when you isolate. You are the thing that fills people's life with fire and joy and love. Many people love you, and when you isolate, they don't get that. They don't get to love you, and they don't get your love. People worry about you. When you go off, people worry about you. Most importantly, you have no impact on the world. Whenever you isolate yourself, you've just eliminated your impact. You can't create. You can't inspire. You can't get your message, your writing out into the world. You can't get your thoughts out into the world. You can't help your wife, your kids, your company, your business. None of that stuff is positive. Isolating yourself is not just about you. It affects a lot of people. If you're a husband, if you're a father, your impact is infinite. When you remove yourself from the occasion, it's not just you who gets affected. Everyone gets affected. Now, let me try to sell you on why not isolating is better. Because we talked about why it's not, we talked about why we do it. Then we talked about the consequences of doing it. Now, why not isolating is better than isolating. Because you will feel good in sharing instead of running away. That's the truth. I've seen it hundreds of times now. I know it personally. You will feel peaceful in sharing your story instead of suffering in silence. I tell guys all the time, if you're going to fail anyway, fail with a group of people. Like sometimes you'll be tempted to not share because you're going to fail. So you fail in silence, therefore suffer in silence. Fail in front of a group of people who will lift you up instead of failing in silence by yourself. We welcome it. We want it. Guess what? We fail too. We're not perfect too. The future you is not perfect. The future you will fail. Your kids will fail. You're going to tell them that's unallowed? Demonstrate that right now. Feel the peace and fulfillment that comes from just sharing your story, sharing your stresses, your anxiety, your struggles. I give this analogy all the time. It's like releasing that beach ball from the water. You're pushing the beach ball into the ocean, and it's hard. It takes all your focus, all your energy, and as soon as you share it with people, you release it and you free, and your attention and energy can go towards other things. Next, you actually heal yourself whenever you share and do not isolate. When you isolate yourself, you cannot improve the problem that you are running from. If you're running from a problem, it grows. If you look it in the face, look yourself in the mirror and say, this is what I need to fix, and you're open and honest with yourself, then you can actually heal the problem and overcome it faster. A lot of times you need other people to help you do that. You get no bonus points by doing it alone. Let's not do this lone wolf thing anymore. How about having a tribe of men? How about a brotherhood of men? How about a group? Were you ever on a sports team? Do you remember how great that felt, achieving a goal together? And you lifted each other up. When one person had a bad day, the other person lifted you up. How great does that feel? You can do that now. Those groups are out there. Why go through life alone? When you isolate, you take away your ability to change another man's life. You don't have to be me. You don't have to be Jocko Willink, some guy you follow on Instagram, somebody you look up to. You are good enough exactly as you are. The person you are, you have inspiration and motivation in you. You have valuable life insights. You have stories of overcoming daily struggles, of not losing your patience on your kids, of not snapping on your wife, of maintaining your calm and being disciplined. You have stories of success daily that can change another guy's life. Whenever you isolate, they don't get that. And if you share that with another guy, if you can help another man change his life and give him hope, it feels really good. It feels good to help people. It feels good to hear another guy say, man, you really changed my life. Thank you. To make that eternal connection with another man. That feels amazing. Isolation takes that all away. Whenever you isolate, you do not fix the problem. You are running from resistance. You're running from the monster. You're running from the obstacle. Face it, stare it down, and fix it. Look it in the face. Face the resistance. If this is your week to get a PR on the bench press and you back down and you do the same weight last week, you're not getting stronger. You need to push yourself. You need to overload. How do you do that? By facing the resistance down. Okay, so we talked about why we isolate. Many things. We talked about the consequences of isolating. We talked about why not isolating is better. Now let's give you a plan. I want you to be like rubber, not like glass. That means be flexible. You see a hurricane, the palm trees last longer than the things that are stiff. Like a stiff oak tree cracks. The palm tree just bends and it somehow can survive most of those hurricane force winds. Let us bend you. Be flexible. Whenever you need perfection, whenever you need outcomes to be exactly the same, then you cannot survive in situations that are not previously determined as perfect. That's what happens to people whenever they isolate. They cannot handle reality right now, so they have to run away. Be flexible. Be like rubber, not like glass. Do not be afraid to fail. Fail with a group of people and encourage yourself to fail. Okay? Fail in front of other guys. Don't hide. Be open and honest with yourself and with other people. Stop listening to negative voices on social media, negative YouTube channels, negative TV shows, especially we're in the political season right now and this is being recorded. Do not listen to all that negativity. That will bring down your vibration, your energy. It'll make you negative, and you're going to be more likely to just wallow in self-pity whenever you have all that negativity running through your mind. Listen to things that lift you up. Practice habits that grow resilience. If you intentionally let yourself suffer every single day, if you intentionally do things where you can practice resilience, then whenever the pain and suffering comes, you won't want to run from it. You will be okay sitting in it. And it starts with things as simple as getting up in the morning. If you can get up in the morning every single day and sit in that discomfort, you say you do it 7 days in a row, on the 8th day, you're going to be so much stronger. Trust me, it's something as small as that. If you can say no to a Snickers bar at the end of the day because you want to hit your macro amount, you're at your calorie limit, and you're still hungry and you still say no, something as small as that will make you stronger and more resilient because you're suffering physically. And instead of running from it, instead of seeking comfort immediately, you're building an internal strength. The more you can do that, the more you're not going to want to isolate and run from your problems. So people that isolate are running from their pain. Do not do that. Face it. There is immense growth in looking your pain in the face and saying, this is where I need to grow and rise. When you feel the urge to isolate, it's the same urge as grabbing a smoke, grabbing a drink, and grabbing that Snickers bar when you told yourself you weren't going to do it. It's trying to run from pain and ease the discomfort you're going to. Just sit in it, take the wisdom from that suffering you're going through, and reach out to somebody. Join a group. Share what you're going through. There's people out there who want you to be happy, and you just have to accept them into your life.